呪術廻戦
Okay, let's read chapter 225 of Jujutsu Kaisen. Jingai Makyo Shinjuku Kessen, part 3. We've seen this before. This is uninhabited demon area, Shinjuku, area of Tokyo, Kessen, decisive battle. Part 3 of the battle. Sukuna and Gojo have been fighting. There's a little bit of a break. Revelation that Mei is broadcasting this, and that is apparently what we're going to see now here in this chapter. This will be a long one. All the characters are going to chime in here, blabbing away. So let's just get right to it and see what they're going to be talking about here. So not clear who's talking here, but it may not matter. Muka gen jujutsu de zettai fukashin o motsu gojo ni taishi Sukuna wa. Okay, so this is like a prelude to Sukuna. As for Sukuna, who is going against Gojo, that possesses the Fukashin absolute of the limitless or without boundary technique. And this is like inviolable. The absolute inviolable thing. So again, with the no limit cursed technique of Gojo, who possesses absolute inviolability, whatever the hell that means. Going versus that is Sukuna. As for Sukuna, Ryoiki Tenen de Jutsushiki o Chuwa suru te o utte kita. So as for Sukuna, who is using domain unfolding expanding, which we've seen before, and I don't remember it, I don't care, but it's something about extension of the unfolding of the domain, to do canceling of technique, and teo utsu, it means to take measures. So Sukuna has come to take measures, doing cancellation of this technique, presumably Gojo's technique, using this domain unfolding and expanding thing. Again, and Gojo who has this. So someone is summarizing the issue here. It's kind of like what happens when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force, kind of a problem. Ryoiki Tenen. Okay, yeah, so here, someone's repeating that because I guess we haven't heard this in a while. Domain unfolding extension or elongating. And you can see all the characters that we've seen throughout the story. We're now going to get a chance to see all of them comment. And just so you get a sense, this is the next 2 pages, and see, right, it's just going to be blah, 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 blah. And then it's going to be more blah, 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 blah. So I hope you like blah, blah, blah. Mekamaru-kun no eizo ni mo atta Shibuya de 特級呪霊が五条先生に使った無価幻術呪術対策ですね。Okay. So Mekamaru, who we haven't seen in forever, Mekamaru, the mechanical guy. Also like, I guess like Eizo is to broadcast or project. Eizo. Yeah. I guess like also in imagery of Mekamaru that existed in Shibuya. The special level cursed spirits by Teacher Gojo used the limitless or without lower limit curse technique counter taisaku. That's just like plan or technique or something. Yeah, counter plan. So, you know, it's the counter plan of the no lower limit curse technique used against Gojo, used against Teacher Gojo. I guess that the special level curse spirits used in Shibuya. So he's talking here about Geto and Makoto or Mahito and Jogo and those guys, those special lyrics. So it's that counterplan that they used in Shibuya that I guess that they saw in imagery captured by Mekamaru. Remember, Mekamaru had those little like spy devices and stuff. So that's how they know about it. Anyway. Okay, here's Hakari, whatever his name is. That was Okotsu. 確かに五条さんの領域を中和できている. Certainly, it's possible doing the cancellation of Mr. Gojo's domain. どういう理屈だ? What sort of a theory? Like, what's the theory behind that? Like, how does it work? Ow, ow, ow. Okay, and he's hurting. I'm not clear why he's hurting, other than I guess he's just in general pain. Okay. Who's this guy again? I don't remember. Is this Kusakabe? Anyway. He is saying, is this a sword dude? Uchi no kani ryoiki yo sarani neriageta kanji da na. Okay. Uchi is referring to like one's own group or like oneself. One's own group's simple domain. Neriageta. It's a feeling of neriageta. Oh, polishing. Of polishing furthermore, like my own simple technique or simple domain. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like the feeling, the sensation of polishing or refining furthermore my simple domain, whatever. Jutsushiki o fuyo shinai ryoiki o matou koto de 空いた容量に相手の術式を流し込み中和してるんだ. Okay, so all right, so through the event of Mato, that's the first one to look up. Through the event of doing this, which is like donning, to put on, to wear on. Through the event of donning, wearing, being clad in the domain that doesn't do blank of technique. Fuyoi. Fuyo. Endowment. Okay. By putting on a domain that does not allow techniques, that's a simple domain, in the open yoryo, in the empty capacity, towards empty capacity, the opponent's technique flowing, doing cancellation. Okay, so it does cancellation and flowing of technique of the opponent into some sort of like empty capacity. Okay, that's what it does through the event of putting on a domain that doesn't allow techniques. Right? Yeah, so it flows the opponent's technique into an empty space, I guess, empty capacity. Whatever. Kusakebe-san dekimasu ka? Tennen. So Mr. Kusakabe, can you do it? Tennen. Again, the unfolding expansion. So someone is asking like him, can he do that? Namen na dekiru wake nee daro. So like you gotta be kidding me. No. Like don't make fun of me. Being possible reason does not exist. Like, there's no reason I'd be able to do that, right? Okay. Hey, thank you for the follow. I'm sorry that you have to see this. All right, here's Higuruma, or whatever his name, lawyer dude. 感覚としては理解できる. Okay, so he's just thinking this. As for doing kankaku, like sensing? Yeah. As for doing like intuition or sensing, understanding is possible. So he's just thinking like, well, I kind of got a sense of it. It's possible to do understanding of it with like a sense or an intuition. Okay, there he is. We get Angel and Kurusu here. And this looks like Angel talking. テネのデメリットとして聖徳術式との併用ができないことがある. Okay, so the unfolding expansions demerit, demerito, the demerit, the downside. The downside to it, or as a downside to it, is Shotoku Jutsushiki. Shotoku. Oh, inherent. Like one's own nature, or it's an inherently, and heiyo is not possible that those times exist. So heiyo, using together. Okay, yeah. So this event also exists, that it's not possible to use it together with inherent or innate one's own techniques. That's the downside to the expansion. Elongation, unfolding, or whatever. So not able to use it together with an innate or inherent technique, I guess. それは少なも例外ではないようですね. As for that, meaning that this problem, as for that, even sukuna, as for being an exception, doesn't seem to be. It is. Not existing, it seems. So it seems that even sukuna is not exempt. Okay, and then finally we get Mini Panda here, starting up here, and I guess we go up here and then down here. That's not quite clear. Let's just see what happens here. つか、それってほぼ術式なしでサトルとやり合えてるってことだろう? Okay. I mean, talking about that, or like saying that, generally, approximately, without a technique, Gojo being without a technique, Yari, I guess, like, will he be able to fight? Will he be able to do it? Yeah. Able to compete? It's that event, right? Oh, with Gojo. With Gojo, so he's talking about Sukuna. I mean, talking about that, this disadvantage, again, approximately being without technique, with Gojo, being able to compete, it's that event, right? So that's what we're saying. Kari ni mukagen jujutsu o tennen igai no te de koryaku sareru koto ga areba makeru yo, Gojo Satoru wa. Okay. For argument's sake, karini, for argument's sake, through the skill or the use of outside of unfolding expansion of the without lower limit curse technique, Goryaku being done event, if it exists, Koryaku is capture? Walkthrough or specific advice. Okay. The event, if it exists, of koryaku being done. Let's go with capture. Capture being done using a skill outside of unfolding expansion of this technique will lose as for Gojo Satoru. Okay. So Angel is saying that Gojo will lose if there's the possibility of that it exists of a way of capturing being done of Gojo's technique, which is the Mukagen Jujutsu, outside of the unfolding expansion. So basically saying, like, if Sukuna has a way to capture or defeat Gojo's techniques other than Tenen, the unfolding elongation, then Gojo's going to lose. Do you find this fascinating? そういう話であれば、なんでスクナは領域を展開しないんですか? This is what's her name. I can't remember her name anymore. She was in the Kyoto school. She had the sword stuff. Anyway, that's sort of a story if it exists. So if that's what you're saying, why, as for Sukuna, unfolding or expansion of domain not doing? So if that's the case, then why isn't Sukuna unfolding his domain? 領域展開直後は術式が使用困難になるんですよね. As for the domain unfolding directly after, techniques, the use difficulty becomes, it is, isn't it? So basically this is just summarizing. I guess there's a lot of summary of stuff that we've known or learned throughout the series. That's what this feels like, to be honest. It becomes difficulty of use of techniques directly after unfolding a domain, right? なら、スクナはまず五条さんに領域の試合を挑むべきではないですか? If that's the case, as for Sukuna, first, to or by Mr. Gojo, pushing together of domains, idomu beki, as for ought to, idomu, isn't not existing, isn't it that? Okay, so idomu. Oh, challenger throwing down the gauntlet. Okay. Dewa nai desu ka? Yeah. So ought it not to be the challenging, the throwing down the gauntlet of pushing together of the domains with Mr. Gojo first, if that's the case for Sukuna? Okay, this was, I forget their name. This was the star person or whatever. That was Hakari's friend, or is Hakari's friend. Nai desu ka te? Okay. We'll come back to that. ないですかって簡単に言うけど、そんなん結果次第で勝負ついちゃうじゃん. Okay. You say ないですか? Like, is that not it? So ないですか? Right? So they're making this statement about, like, if that's the case, then shouldn't Sukuna start by throwing down the gauntlet and challenging domains, right? So, and then again, right, it ends with nai desu ka. Is that not it? And you say, is that not it? But simply that sort of a thing, result dependent upon match or whatever, it isn't. So, you say that, but simply kantani you. Oh, it's simple to say, but that sort of result being dependent result, I guess. Kekka shidai. Yeah, I guess shidai unfortunately means dependent upon or as soon as. Oops. But we probably want dependent upon. So depending on the results of that, I guess it's the outcome. Shobutsuku. Shobutsui chao jan. Like the match. Shobu means either match or the victory or defeat. The match will be like, I guess would like end. It would arrive. Yeah. Yeah, like the match would end depending on those results. Tsuite ii janai desu ka? Then that's good, isn't it? Like that would be good, wouldn't it? Tashika ni nandaro? Certainly. Why, I wonder? Okay. So yeah, so they're like, yeah, right. It would be that way. So then why not? Why is it, I wonder? Okay, here's Itarori. そもそも領域の必中効果はサトルちゃんの術式を関数するの? そもそも. Is that like from the start? Yeah. So in the first place, from the start, to begin with, as for the effect of direct hit of the domain, Satoru-chan's technique doing piercing? Kansu? Pierce through? Yeah. Okay, so Itarori is asking this question, like just from the very beginning, as for a domain's certain hit effect. So that's a whole thing about domains. The domains establish this whole certain hit thing. As for the effect of that from the start, can it do penetration of Satoru's technique? 前に呪霊の領域に一緒に飲まれた時するって本人は言ってた。Previously, by a cursed spirit's domain, together being enveloped time, doing, said, as for the person himself said. Okay. So honnin here is Gojo, the person themselves. As for the person themselves, they said it at the time that we were enveloped, swallowed together by a cursed spirit's domain. Okay. So he's saying like, can a domain's certain kill, certain hit, effect, penetrate Gojo's technique? He's saying previously the person themselves said it could happen the time that they were enveloped. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here's wee wee. There's really nothing down here. Wee wee. もしかしてスクナは領域の大試合では五条悟に勝ってないと思ってる? Perhaps, as for Sukuna, as for the event of pushing together domains by Gojo Satoru not able to win thinking. So Wee is asking, maybe Sukuna thinks that he can't win against Gojo if it's a clash, a pushing together of domains. This is Ieiri, the doctor, I think. Okay. Gojo no seikaku no warusa to rikugan de, それが見抜けないとは思えない. Gojo's personality's badness and with the six senses that not minukenai. That's like failing to notice. Yeah. Not being able to see through, not being transparent. As for that, not able to think. So, lots of double negatives, or lots of negatives going on here. Because of Gojo's badness personality, and his sixth sense, that, meaning this whole issue that they're talking about, as for, like, I guess not seeing through it, not able to think. So she's basically saying, like, I can't imagine that Gojo wouldn't see through that. Given his sixth sense and his bad personality, which I would take seikaku no warusa to mean like that he can think, not bad thoughts, but like more tricky like things. Anyway, kari ni mo shisou nara. Kari ni mo? So we already saw kari ni mo as like, for example, or for argument's sake. Kari ni mo shisou nara. I guess this is a really complicated way to say, like, if we're doing something for argument's sake. Gojo kara ryoiki o tenkai shitteru hazu da. From Gojo ought to be doing unfolding expansion of domain. Gojo kara. Yeah, I guess this is like, for argument's sake, if it were seeming to do that way, like if this were seeming to be something was possible, then from Gojo, he ought to be doing unfolding of his domain. Okay, back to Choso. Ryoiki no oshiai ni naranai en janai ka? A pushing together of domains not becoming, is it not that? Or will it not be that? So is that not going to happen? Someone is like, huh? He continues, Inomaki to Yuji no hanashi da to Sukuna wa ryoiki o tenkai suru toki ni kekkai o oji naen da to mo. Wait. Oh, is Inumaki? That must be this guy, right? Is that Inumaki? Inumaki and Yuji's story. So with what they said, with their story, Inumaki and Yuji, Itadori, as for Sukuna, at the time of doing unfolding or expanding of domain, not closing, it's not closing the magical barrier, I think. Yeah. So again, like with what they said, Sukuna doesn't close magical barriers when the time of doing unfolding of the domain. And he's like, that's what I think. Okay. What? Ariane daro? That's impossible, right? That's impossible, right? Like this idea of that when unfolding the domain, it doesn't close magical barriers, I guess. Ariane, it is impossible. Ariane, impossible. Ariane kana? It's impossible, I guess. Oh, sonna ni desu ka? That sort of a thing it is. It's like that. Okay, so just yeah, so arianai literally means like to not receive existence. But it means unfortunately for us, it means both impossible and improbable, which are not the same word in English. Something that is impossible versus improbable actually means very different things. But literally in Japanese, arianai means to not receive existence or not to be granted existence. So sounds like more impossible to me. Okay. Miwa. Oh, that's her name. Miwa. Miwa, soko no mizu o nagete kure. So he is saying, Miwa, that water, do the favor of throwing. Throw me that water. Hai, dozo. Yep, here you go. Push. That's him catching the bottle. Nani shitten da? What are you doing? Kusakabe-san ga nigero tte, nagero tte ittan desho? Huh? Mr. Kusakabe, you said throw it, right? Okay, so he's throwing it back. You can see mizu, water there. 俺は水を取れていったんだ。ボトルはいらねえ。As for me, I said, like, take water. Take water. As for the bottle, it's not necessary. I don't need it. Okay. Pusha. So she gives him the water without the bottle, right? And then I guess this is Mei saying, 結界と閉じずに領域を展開するっていうのはそういうことなんだよ。Without closing a magical barrier, as for the thing called doing unfolding of a domain, it's that sort of event. So this is supposed to be some sort of analogy to what they're talking about, which again is this idea of doing domain expansion or unfolding without closing a magical barrier. Right. So this has all been, it's really hard to follow this sometimes, but right. That's what they're talking about. Is this impossible or not? And this was supposed to be some demonstration of that. The event called it, that's what this is like. If you do the thing called domain expansion without closing a magical barrier, right? Wanting water, not needing a bottle, and then I guess just getting the water splashed on your face. So I'm not going to read too much into the fact that he didn't say, we'll take water or whatever. He said, like, throw me the water, but whatever. It's also weird because he seems angry about it, but presumably he did that on purpose to demo it. Okay. Whew. We're maybe halfway there. Where are we? 30 minutes? Oh wait, no, we got 4 more pages of people blabbing, and then we get back to the fighting. So let's go. If we finish this in an hour as opposed to an hour and a half, I think I will be ecstatic. Whoops. Okay, we're going to see Maki and some other folks here. What is this supposed to be? This is like a brush, a calligraphy or painting brush in water. 器もなしに水を溜めることができるか? Also without a vessel. The event of containing water, is it possible? Okay, so we're continuing with the analogy from the previous page. Okay, tameru does mean to accumulate or amass, but it can also mean to store. So the event of storing water without a vessel, is that possible? Can you hold water without even a vessel? Is that possible? キャンバスを使わずに without using a canvas 風に絵を描けるか? Can you draw a picture in the air without using a canvas? So that's what this is supposed to be like here. This image in the background. 根も葉も茎もなく種から花が咲くか? Okay. Even root, even bud, or even leaf, or even kuki, which is, kuki-cha, stems. Hey, tea saves the day. Yeah, kuki is stem. Kuki-cha is stem tea. So from a seed without stem, leaf, or root, will a flower bloom? I guess this is Maki talking. ハードなしでソフトを再生するような in the manner of doing 再生 of software without hardware. 再生 means like to regenerate, to play back, I guess. Play back? To reclaim? Why 再生? In the manner of playing back, resuscitating, regenerating software without hardware. ... You know? とにかくありえねえちゅう話. In any case, it is impossible. It's that sort of a story. Teu or teu. Yeah, she's saying it is impossible. 恵みの不完全な領域は結界を閉じなかったぞ. Megumi's incomplete domain, as for that, didn't close magical barrier. Okay, right. Remember, Megumi has like this domain that is incomplete, fukanzen, so it doesn't even like enclose anything. And she's making this observation that Megumi's incomplete domain doesn't close magical barriers. Okay, Kusakabe is coming back in here. 昇級来て、さて前に聞いたよ. Okay, so heard it previously. 昇級 sate. Promotion? Promotion assessment. Oh, okay. So a promotion, before the promotion assessment, heard it. So remember, I don't know how long ago that was, right? There was the whole thing about them going through the promotion thing. That was way back. So heard about it before the promotion assessment. Daga arewa. But as for that thing, tatemono ya kiso no kekkai o gaikaku ni ryou shita te hanashi da. Okay. As for that thing, it's a story that's making use of gaikaku. We went shell or crust. Shell or crust of a magical barrier of kison and buildings existing. Oh, okay, yeah. It's a story about making use of like shells and crusts of magical barriers of existing, of like existing things and buildings. This was like using other physical buildings as like barriers and whatever. 今知ってる話と比べると超次元が低い. Now doing story with if compare, super different dimension is low. So he's basically saying if you compare what we're talking about now with that, this like using buildings and existing magical barriers as shells, if you compare that with what we're talking about now, it's a hugely the huge difference is low. Or like the super dimensionality is low. Like there's not any comparison. They're very different. だが 鴨のり通し、賢弱はやってのけたぞ。However, Kamanori Toshi, Kenjaku, as for them, like they did it. Yatte no ketta. Yeah. Yatte no keru is to succeed. They pulled it off. But they did it. Now that's weird because this is actually, it appears to be Choso saying this. Okay, then I guess that's like, yeah. So Kusakabe is trying to say like these are way different things that we're talking about here. But then Choso's coming in saying Kenjaku was able to pull it off. That's why you can barely see it, but that's him talking down there. And that's why that's Kusakabe being surprised by the answer, or by that. So then we switch over to Choso. その時は靴もが管領域で対抗して、その間天元が領域を外部から結界術で解体した。Okay. Did deconstruction. Okay. So, right, Choso is speaking about the battle with, that they had with Geto when that's why he says Kenjaku. The battle they had with Geto Kenjaku, with, Tsukumo, Choso, and Tengen. As for that time, Tsukumo, using a simple domain, did a countering. And during that period, Tengen, from outside part of the domain, using magical barrier technique, did dissolving, did deconstruction. So I just want to make sure that Taiko is opposition. Yep. Okay. So Tsukumo did opposing using simple domain. And during that period, at the same time, Tengen did disassembly using magical barrier techniques from the outside parts of the domain. Kani ryoki wa miru 剥がされていたが、もし、つくもが領域を展開してたら、as for the simple domain, miru剥がされて, it was like stripped away. Yeah, very fast. Okay, that's what miru means. It was stripped away very fast. Haga. Yeah, hagasu is to peel off. So again, as for that simple domain of Tsukumo, it was stripped away extremely fast. If Tsukumo did unfolding of domain, ... Maybe like implied that if she had done a unfolding of a domain, that it would have lasted longer or something else would have happened. Anyway. Okay. Mei chimes in here. 領域の押し合いにはならないだろうね. As for pushing together of domains will not become probably, you know? あれは, so she's basically saying they probably won't push together their domains, you know? As for that, あれは最終的に結界の外角の押し合いになるから. As for that, meaning a clash of the domains, pushing together the domains, finally, like in a final form, the outer shell of the magical barrier pushing in, it becomes, that's why. Okay. Yeah. So it will not become a pushing together of the domains because that would ultimately, like in the final moments, because it would become a pushing together of the outer shells of the magical barriers. Demo, but, 結局は ユキさんの領域内で付与した術式の非中効果をめぐって押し合うことになったんじゃないかな? Okay, but as for the end result, Ms. Yuki, or Yuki-san, who's Yuki-san? Yuki-san, inside the domain of Yuki-san, the granted technique's certain hit effectiveness megute, running around? Megute oshiai koto ni nattan janai ka. Will it not become the event of pushing together and running around? Why megute? Or pushing around? Yeah, I guess pushing around the certain hit effectiveness of the technique that's granted on the inside of the domain of Yuki-san. Oh, Yuki-san. That's Tsukumo. That's Tsukumo. So she's talking about this, like, this example. And the end result, on the inside of, if she had done it, on the inside of the domain of Yuki-san, the bestow technique of the certain hit of the effectiveness, it became the event of pushing together and running around that. Isn't it that, I guess? Yeah, so basically she's saying, I guess, like, it would just become like a pushing together of the certain hit effectivenesses of the techniques that are granted inside the domain. Oshiao te nani o da yo? It's what doing pushing together. So I keep saying pushing together because that's literally what oshiao means. Yeah, to jostle, to crowd, but literally to push together. Whatever her name is this Misa, whatever. She's saying it's the pushing together of what? Like, when you say push together, what is it? Or what is being pushed together? Sa ne. That's a very non-committal response of, like, well, you know. Meaning, like, I don't know. Hichu kouka o janai en desu ka? The certain hit effectiveness, isn't it that? It isn't that? And then I guess this is Mei responding. Dakara, その必中効果は結界に付与されているから結界を押し合うしかねえだろう。It's because of that. It's because of that. As for the certain hit of the magical barrier, or a certain hit effectiveness, as for the certain hit effectiveness in a magical barrier being granted because it's granted inside. Okay, so because the certain hit effectiveness is granted inside the magical barrier, it can only be the pushing together of the magical barriers, right? So when talking about, like, what is it, oshiao, she's saying it would have to be the pushing together of the barriers because the certain hit effectiveness is granted inside the magical barrier. Okay, I think this is the last page of character commenting. So now we get Toge. Although someone else appears to be talking. Because he's only going to say food stuff anyway. Nanka. Maybe this is, I can never remember this. Inu something. This is Inumaki. Anyway. Nanka ataremae no you ni ryoiki no hanashi shitteru kedo sa. Somehow, in an obvious fashion, talking of domains. Okay, we're talking about domains like in an obvious fashion somehow. あれってめちゃくちゃ重力食うんだろ。だからホイホイ使わねえだけじゃん。Talking about those things, domains. Oh, did I say magical barriers? This is Ryoiki domains. So we're talking about domains like they're no big deal. Like they're in a manner that they're obvious or whatever. Talking about those things, they crazy amount of cursed energy eat, right? They consume a crazy amount of cursed energy. And that's why it's not just using them hoi hoi, which is just like willy-nilly. Yeah, hoi hoi can mean shoot, but it can also mean without considering the pros or cons, thoughtlessly. So that's why you don't use them willy-nilly, isn't it that? Okaka. What's okaka? Finely chopped katsuobushi. Oh, the fish flakes. Okay. Yeah, Inumaki-kun no言う通り、五条先生に重力儀礼はありません。So, according to saying of Inumaki-kun, so it's like Inumaki-kun said, by Gojo Sensei, cursed energy will not run out. Like, I guess like Gojo can't run out of cursed energy. Okay, and then we get this. そりゃ、重力効率がべらぼうにいいから消費量が恒常的な自己保管の範疇で収まるってことだろう。Okay. As for that thing, meaning Gojo not running out of cursed energy, cursed energy efficiency towards Berabo is good. That's why. Berabo. Oh, I guess like absurdly good. Unreasonably good. Yeah. So his Gojo's cursed energy efficiency is absurdly good. That's why. And consumption amount. Constant self-preservation, something holding down, it's that event, right? Okay, so Jiko Hokan. Well, I thought Jiko Hokan was self-preservation. We do want Hokan. Self-supplementation. Okay, so the consumption amount constantly, or a constant self-complementation of Hanju category. Okay, so I guess because the consumption amount is a category of constant self-complementation, whatever that means. It's the event called holding it down, like being able to hold it, like being able to do it, I guess. Osamaru. To be in one's place, to be delivered, to be obtained. That's probably it. Like, so yeah, using the category of self-complementation or self-supplementation constantly, the consumption amount is like, I guess, that's how he delivers. I don't know. Whatever. でもそれって、but talking about that, 常識的な運用が前提だろ? But saying that, the 常識, isn't that just common sense? Yeah. The sensible 運用 use. Sensible practical use is 前提, like already decided. That's an assumption, right? Okay, yeah. So, but talking about that, it's an assumption, right? Talking about, I guess, like common sense or practical use. 連続で with practice, 領域を展開し直すことがあれば、話変わってくると思うぜ。Oh no, renzoku is not practice. Successive use. With successive use, unfolding of a domain, like redoing event, if that exists. So if you're going to be doing like consecutive uses of unfolding of a domain, the story changes, I think, doesn't it? Meaning like having limitless cursed energy. Sukuna wa? As for Sukuna, I mean, what about him? Kami ga katteru? Something about like God. Kami gaka? Like divine gaka. I guess this would be like he's like divine. The kakaru there is used in well, you can see divine possession here, but it's this idea like he's like divine, whatever, like godlike. 術式発動までの歴の木で、天然と聖徳術式の切り替えの歴、五条悟に陸眼がなければ、確実に重力効率も少なが勝っていたはずだ。Okay. Okay. Kire. I think I said reki twice. Kire. What is that? Slice piece? What else could kire mean here? To get angry. Gap? Kiretto? No. All right. This is going to be weird. Kire. All right, well, let's see what we got here. Technique activation to that point of kire. And also another type of kire here, the unfolding extension and innate techniques. Kirikae. Exchange kire. Okay. By Gojo, 6 eyes, 6 sense, if not existing, truthfully, in reality, cursed energy efficiency even, Sukuna winning ought to be. Okay. All right, so the premise here ultimately is Sukuna ought to win even with cursed energy efficiency. If Gojo didn't have sixth sense, and then because of something about this kire of exchanging innate technique and unfolding domain, and the kire of up until activation of techniques. If we take kire as a slice, a piece, like a piece of this and a piece of that, like doing this and then doing this, like doing that and that, if Gojo didn't have the sixth sense, then even with efficiency, Sukuna would win. Whatever. そして、back to Okotsu. そして、重力総量は僕より多いですね。直感で倍以上得れます。Okay. In addition, as for the total amount of cursed energy, more than me, it's great. So Okotsu is basically saying Gojo has a lot more cursed energy than he does. And Chokkan de, with, or intuitively, it's like more than twice. Bai is double and Ijo is more than existing. So it's more than twice intuitively. Like he's just, I sense it's more than twice. This looks like it might be someone else saying it, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Tsumari futari tomo, what that means is those two people, Gojo and Sukuna, 重力量の問題で領域を展開しないわけじゃないってことか? Cursed energy amounts of being a problem. Not doing unfolding of domain, reason it isn't. Is that the event? Is that what we're talking about? So what someone is saying is, what that means is those two people, it's not that there's a reason that they wouldn't do unfolding of their domains because there's a problem with the amount of cursed energy. In other words, the amount of cursed energy is not a problem here. That's not the reason that they're going to not open their domains. もしかしてだけど maybe, but 当事者の二人含めて誰にもわからないんじゃない? So perhaps 当事者の二人含め, including those two people to nobody understanding, isn't it that? Basically like nobody knows for sure, even those two people. 当事者. Yeah, 当事者 is like the related parties, the people concerned. So the two people who we're talking about, including, nobody knows, right? Isn't it that? Maybe. 五条悟と両面宿儺の領域がぶつかったらどうなるか? Yeah. Gojo and Sukuna's domains, when clashing, how it becomes, ? So nobody knows what will happen, how will it become when clashing of the domains of those two. Yeah, we're just going to go with bukatsu. Oh, butsukatsu. Yeah, to strike, to collide. Okay. Oi, hey. Oh, there goes Kiki. Kuruzo. Hey, they're coming. They're here. Or it's coming. Kuruzo. Okay, Whew. Oh, we hit an hour. Crap. All right. Gi, gyu. Or gyuwa. Ryoiki tenkai. So they're both doing it, right? So domain unfolding, domain expansion. So after all that, blah, blah, blah. Gyuwa. All right. So we get this. So there's Sukuna's domain and presumably the like stars and everything in the background or whatever is Gojo's domain. Okay, so that's on the top here. We got the bottom. Gokaku. Gokaku. This is like mutual corner. Equality, evenness, a good match. Gokaku. Gojo no kekkai nai de wa, tsui ni naru futari no hichu meirei ga jufuku shi uchi keshiatte ita. Okay. As for inside the magical berry of Gojo, tsui ni naru, it formed a pair. Inside the magical berry of Gojo, forming a pair, and two people's certain hit orders, commands, doing heavy jufuku. Oh, doing duplication of the certain hit, certain striking order command, and doing, I guess, uchi keshite, like striking and erasing. Uchi kesu. To negate. Yeah, so they negated each other. Doing negation, doing overlapping, duplication, repetition, and doing cancellation, negation. Okay. お互いが領域を展開した状態での戦闘 mutually, domain, doing unfolding on domains, and with the condition of the battle, with the condition of the battle, doing opening of the domains mutually. どちらかが whichever side it is, 大きなダメージを負い、どちらかの領域が崩壊すれば、即座にどちらかの非中術式がどちらかを襲う。That was a lot of どちらか. Which is like whichever side, whichever direction. どちらか. Yeah, either one. Okay, so either one, whichever direction, whichever side, big damage bears. So whichever side takes big damage, or whichever side's domain crumbling is done, destruction is done of one's domain. So whichever that happens, taking big damage, or if the domain is crumbled, domain crumbles, sokuza, immediately, either one's certain hit technique will strike either one. Now, that seems unusually vague, but you can kind of figure it out, right? Whichever one's collapses, then immediately the certain technique of the other one will strike the one that collapsed or took great damage. Also to strike. Will strike whichever one. Okay. Gokaku, an even match. Majika? Seriously? Masaka. It can't be. Kekkai nai de wa gokaku. Okay, so this is magical barrier inside. As for that, an even match. So it's an even match inside the magical barrier. We get a little emphasis mark there, that little dot. So it was an even match inside the magical barrier. Getty. Okay, presumably this is outside the magical barrier. Sukuna no ryoiki no koukaha ni wa Gojo no ryoiki no gaikaku yori sotogawa ni tatsuru. Okay, tatsuru is to arrive or to reach. Oops, if would help if I write that in the right place. Yeah, to reach. Okay, so as for the scope, as for the area, the range of effectiveness of the domain of Sukuna, more than the outside shell of the domain of Gojo, it reaches the outer side. So Gojo or Sukuna's magical barrier's effectiveness range reaches to the outer side more than the shell of the domain of Gojo. Ryoiki no kekkai wa, as for the magical barrier of the domain, sotogawa kara no koukeki ni moroi. Moroi is to be brittle. Yeah. So brittleness to attacks from the outside. So as for the magical barrier of a domain, it's brittle to attacks from the outside. And we just saw that Sukuna's domain reaches further to the outside than the shell of Gojo's. Piki! So that would be Gojo's shell shattering. Kasha! All right. And that is the pieces shattering like glass. We see Sukuna's domain there. All right. They are looking at each other, and there's the certain hit hitting Gojo. Okay. That is the end of the chapter. And there's some art of Sukuna's domain. Okay, well, there we go. That is the end of chapter 225. Next time, chapter 226, part 4 of this series. We're getting close to the end of this book. We'll see how this continues. We still got like 5 more books to go. So there you go, 226 next time.